Alrighty then. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very special, impromptu, last minute episode of the BlackGate podcast. Originally, we were going to be joining us on who do you call it?
You are echoing so bad.
Is that me?
That is that you?
Oh my goodness, it is me. Sorry about that. Well, it wouldn't be a Blackgate podcast without some kind of technical hiccup, so it's
So
whatever.
fun.
I am your host, Sauron, the Dark Lord of Mordor, and today with me I have three very, um, two of which actually are recurring guests, and one is someone I know pretty regular. I talk to pretty regularly, but this is his first time on one of my podcasts, so I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Gumby. I'm super tired. I don't know why. Um, but it's your problem now because you're here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm the infamous J Step. Infamous, depending on who you talk to, of course. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. But either
Yep,
way,
got it.
I'm having Moscato wine tonight, enjoying time with some really cool people. And I can't wait to talk about today's topic du jour. But I'll let Lord Sauron, of course, get the Lord of Spice, now that he changed his name, explain all that. But before that, Cranky Writer, it's you're up.
Hey, I'm Matt. I'm from the Mythoverse with Sauron, and I'm usually not here for the podcast since I usually work, but I'm glad to finally be on.
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory for this. So originally we were gonna be on my buddy Slim or what's his channel name on here again? Prettier Hills.
Pettier Hills.
Pettier
But I
Hills.
mean, he still goes by Slim.
Yeah. So yeah, we were gonna be on his stream, but due to his own he had a couple of personal issues he got to take care of, so we decided we're gonna switch over to this stream over here. Hence why normally I try to do this on a Friday, but today is Saturday, so obviously things are a little different. But different isn't always bad. Um, God damn it! All right, 1 second. Okay, my computer's being funky because why wouldn't it be?
Of course.
Respect
right.
one, respect.
Nah, man, technology. Oh god, sorry. Screw it. I'll just say I hate technology sometimes, man.
Don't
Like,
It
worry.
happens.
if Skynet ever becomes real, they're gonna kill me first because I'll just be listen. I'm not bowing just because I don't trust you. I'll bow and you'll still kill me. So just get it out of the way. All right, there we go. All right, so today's topic is a little bit different because usually when I do topics, I try to talk about the stuff I'm a bit more familiar with, just because it makes it a bit easier to focus on for me per se. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be discussing Dune 2021, which I have I obviously have heard of Dune prior to this movie coming out, but I never really I never read the novel. I never read the original. I never seen the original film. The only thing I knew about Dune was desert planet, giant worms, and something about spice and universe. That's it.
Same.
I actually saw it, but it was so long ago I barely remember it. Although this movie did bring up back some memories.
Too bad there's no Patrick Stewart charging into Bale with a pug.
Yep, instead we get Thanos and Aquaman.
That threw me for a loop. Now, this movie wasn't really on my radar at all. Like I didn't hate it. I just it just wasn't a movie that I was like, I'm gonna go see that. I can't remember. I think at some point I decided I was gonna watch it even before Slim said he was gonna do a stream for. I think you know what it was. It was on HBO Max. I have HBO Max, and I said I might as well watch it.
I I personally had zero faith in it because so I knew it was I knew nothing about it. All I knew was that it was a reboot. Um and I saw this trailer for it at work. That was advertising it as the new Star Wars, the new Lord of the Rings, and I'm like,
Oh Lord.
Man, if you if you're advertising it like that, and you're advertising it by immediately just comparing it to other things, like that just gives me no faith in your product whatsoever.
Well,
Plus, it's 2021, so why would a movie be good?
Well,
I mean,
think about
sorry.
sorry. Well, the thing about Dune is it's always been compared to Lord of the Rings due to the complexity of the world building.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. Like, I didn't know really anything about it. I have
Honestly, like that, like the recent one, that sounds more like the marketing of like, because I think we've had this conversation probably on Slim's stream before, even on one of my streams, but I know mentioned how like in today's like cinema, it seems more like they're more focused on franchises rather than like anything else. And so like Dune, I know it has its own fan base, but it seems like the easiest thing to get like new people into Dune is to tell them, hey, you've seen Star Wars, right? You've seen Lord of the Rings, right? You know, the two bigger, arguably two of the biggest franchises out there. Hey, this is going to give you that same feels. Hey, what's up, Emily?
Well, in the way of Star Wars, they kind of ripped off Dune.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As I understand it, most sci-fi things kind of sort of ripped off. Hey, beer. Thank you. Kind of sort of ripped off Dune in some way, shape, or form.
And especially Warhammer with God Emperor.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
getting
like,
some like really solid Star Wars, Warhammer, and Halo vibes watching the movie. But I watched the movie on Halloween. I had some friends over. We all just kind of sat down, watched it, ate random pieces of candy, chili dogs, popcorn, what have you.
Sounds like a good night.
And alcohol. There was alcohol involved. It was great. I had.
Oh yes,
can't forget that. I'm drinking that right now.
I'm about to be. My mom brought me a beer. I was happy.
Oh, respect.
Well, I was live, so I just asked her like if she would grab it for me. But I love my mom, guys. Like this, I'm blessed.
Good for you, man.
You have a
healthy. That's awesome.
You have a healthy relationship with your mother. How dare you?
Well, I could,
hey, as a guy whose mom
I
is
could say
like literally
something
2 states away
bad here, but no. I mean, honestly, I have a healthy relationship with all 4 of my parents.
I mean, that's always a good thing, but at least someone here can say they had a good relationship with their father, unlike a certain somebody. Ha 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 ha. Me. Ha 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 ha.
Do you need a hug?
Sorry, buddy.
Oh no, I get to make those jokes.
I have to second that. Do you need a hug?
Nah, I love making those jokes, especially in public, because people don't know what to do.
Well, respect.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is, but like joking about trauma and then like seeing how people react, it's always entertaining because either they'll react like positively, they'll be like, "Hey, I understand, so that's something you can joke about," or they don't understand that's something you can joke about, and they just have no idea how to react, and it's just amusing.
That shit is like I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm not a good person. Like I'm mean and I'm petty and I like poking fun at stuff.
Well, you are Sauron, the Lord of Spice.
Exactly. There you go. Lord of Salt, really. But I love that kind of stuff. Like people will be talking about like what you doing for this weekend, and one person would be like, "Oh, I'm going to hang out with my dad. We're taking a trip." And it's like, must be nice. Like, it's one thing. It's like, why do you keep making those jokes? Why not? No, but oh God, excuse me. All right, but it's just one of those things where it's just like having fun with it. So who cares? I mean, if anyone is offended by that, listen. I'm just gonna say, if you're offended on me, if you're offended about me making jokes on my own circumstance, I appreciate your concern, but it's falling on deaf ears.
Well, you know what I feel about people who get offended by shit like that? It's just like, why are you here? Why are you here to get offended? You are a dumb shit if you come here to get offended. Like, oh no, this offended. Go fuck yourself. Wow, that's the alcohol talk, and I'm so sorry, everyone. But I guess I'm just tired of people. There was an episode of Simpsons, kind of funny because of my avatar, where Ned Flanders is looking through all these different shows to get offended, and I feel like that's a lot of people on Twitter. They just basically pull a Ned Flanders, and to be
Call me a
honest,
killjoy.
yeah, I tend to be a little bit. Oh, sorry, man.
Sorry, no, I kind of cut you off. I thought you were done. My bad.
Oh, my bad.
Our mutual bad.
Let's just say yes. You go first, then I'll finish.
I was just making a joke, the Marge thing. I call me a killjoy, but because this is not to my taste, I feel like no one should be able to enjoy it.
I like that. But yeah.
I don't like it. Therefore, no one should like it.
Yeah. Those people can go fuck themselves. Wow, I am really salty today. I'm sorry, everyone.
Yes, quit stealing my shtick. All right,
Oh,
man.
I'm sorry, Dark Lord. I'm sorry, Dark Lord. Please.
Nah. But we can get to the focus though, in
Yes,
the sense
please.
of Dune, because I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you guys. I actually really like this movie.
I did too.
It
Again,
was so good.
I had no context going into this other than like the very basic stuff, and it was just. I'm not gonna lie, like that opening part kind of had me just a little lost, just because it was like learning things as they were happening. It wasn't like lost in the sense that like it was confusing. It was just like, okay, I'm learning how things are working in this world, in this universe, but I was enjoying learning it.
Mhm.
Hey, what's up, Megatron, in the chat? Yes, the spice must flow.
Honestly, world building in anything is, you don't really think about how difficult that is to do right, because you either see we got Velvet here, cool.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, cool.
So Velvet was actually she was one of the friends I had over that we watched Dune together. So
Your friends
all-
are real? They're not imaginary?
yeah, no, I have like a whole 5 of them.
A whole 5 of them.
Nah.
I love how you phrased it. Like, I have a whole 5 of them. Like, it sounded like you were
Well,
saying a
there's-
whole lot and then just changed it to 5. I'm not saying that's what you meant, but it really sounded like you were about to do that.
It's like Velvet and her husband are like 2 of my best friends, and then there's like a guy that I'm gonna be moving in with, hopefully, if my financial situation allows, and then another married couple, all like military.
Oh, you poor bastard.
So like
It happens.
I'm like the only non-military. I like Velvet and my other friend, they're like military spouses. But like all of the guys in the group are military except for me.
Oh, poor bastard. Still.
It's fine. No, like I really love those guys. They're great.
Wait, what-
Thank you for their service. Appreciated.
If you don't mind me asking, what branch?
Air Force. That's
Oh, never mind.
Oh,
I'm kidding. No.
Oh no!
Air Force, yeah.
No! Go right ahead. Sure, like, they're one step above Coast Guard, but that's
No,
not saying much.
So I mean, I've always had respect for like anybody in the military, like even the Air Force, mostly just because like my family,
Like he
Asset-
knows.
my dad was Air Force like throughout my entire life.
He definitely knows.
And yeah, I mean, even I've contemplated it just because of the security. Still crosses my mind from time to time, but honestly, like it's not too bad.
Yeah, just for a bit of context, I was in the military too. So every little thing I'm making fun of when it comes to military, I'm poking at it from with a little hint of love, a little.
I don't remember if you ever
Minuscule.
said what branch you were in.
Oh no, I won't.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I was in the Navy.
And thank you for your service.
So,
Oh, trust me, I wasn't doing anything that important.
Sauron,
Well, you could have been.
Sauron, I had no idea you were gay. Thank you for coming out publicly.
Yeah. That's why I try to keep that shit to myself.
No, boy.
Matt can attest to how many times I've mentioned it in our Discord server, and it's just seaman, in the Navy, yada yada yada. It's like yeah, laugh it up.
We all know. We all get you're gay. That kind of thing.
I mean, Brett kind of holds the title for that one though. It's like the alpha gay.
Wait, is he gay or bi?
Who?
No, the person who we're talking about.
Brent?
He's
Neither.
he's the big gay.
Okay. At this point, if they said they were bi, it's probably the same thing. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to Hollywood.
Now Brett really has to watch this stream because now it's like
Now we're talking shit.
we're 15 minutes in and he's just gonna like be watching like they're talking about whatever, talk about Dune, yada yada yada. Then just 15 minutes in, it's like, wait a minute, son of a bitch.
Let's get back to Dune before we
back to Dune. All right. So again, I really like this movie. I was again like the intro, I was a little lost in, but that was mostly due to me kind of like learning the world. One thing that I really liked was I'm trying to think like some quick stuff right off the top of my head. I really liked I'm gonna butcher some of these. I'm just gonna say the actors' names because I don't remember all the character names off the top of my head. What's his name? Oscar Isaac's character. I really liked his character.
Leto Atreides.
He is my favorite character just because he is so just unabashedly good.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And especially from a character that's so political in nature, you don't get that anywhere.
I was just thinking that was like I liked how he was very clearly like a duke. He was a very clearly royal guy, very clearly like political, and yet I didn't get that sense of like he's being good for this like it seemed like he was good because he was good, not because he was trying to like show face or anything.
Mm-hmm. He was good just because he was. Yeah,
and I love that part at the beginning where he's like, what's Paul? He's like, what if I'm not this leader or whatever you think I am? And he said, you'll be what all
the only thing I ever need. So he said something like, great men, they don't see greatness, they're called to it, and they answer. And Paul says, what if the answer is no? He says, then you'll still be the only thing I ever needed you to be, my son. So, and I mean, I love that too. Like, I mean, last night I was rewatching it with my mom because I had her watch it, and she liked it a lot. But that part really, like, yeah, she teared up on that part. I'm like,
oh yeah, like that was some textbook it's not a good idea to take movie quotes and try to apply them in real life in like real context. But if there ever was a quote, that's a good one right there.
There's a lot of good ones though. I'd say, like, I mean, yeah, you got to pick and choose, but like it's if you sift through, I'm sure you'll find a lot of quotes from movies, books, games, what have you that
Oh no, there's not really a lot of context where I can shout, "Get to the chopper."
Okay,
in real life.
I think after this past year, we can understand that anything Arnold says is not something you should apply to your daily life.
Nah. Everything he says is quotable to a certain degree.
Mr. Screw Your Freedom.
I don't want to get into it with him, but like... No, I won't get into it. I was going to say something.
Yeah, let's not get his channel banned.
Velvet points out a good thing. How he wasn't obviously good.
Mm-mm. Like, and that's actually something. While we were watching it, I kept looking over to her and her husband, and I was like, I know he's gonna end up as like a villain or something, but I don't want him to. And then he didn't, and I was like, oh,
well,
yay.
That's to a certain degree, because he is technically brought back in the form of Leto II, who becomes the God Emperor.
I did not know this.
Well, not him per se, but he's named
like a clone or something.
No, Paul's son.
Oh,
yeah. Basically, Frank Herbert had two characters who were extremely popular that he decided to bring back. Leto is one of them. The other one is Duncan, Idaho.
Okay. I'm curious as to how Duncan gets brought back.
I mean, I will say, yeah, Duncan was a fun character as well. I think Jason Momoa, he's just a very charismatic person, and I think he has that, like, I don't know what you call it. I don't know if there is even a term for it, but to me, there are some actors who they don't really. I'm not trying to say they're bad, but they kind of
don't play roles; they just play themselves each time.
They don't play roles; they play themselves. Will Smith is like the go-to guy when I give that example.
Will Smith, Jason Momoa, and
George Clooney.
George Clooney, yeah.
Because he wasn't.
Nicolas Cage.
Dwayne John Nicolas Cage is a whole nother. Nicolas Cage is a whole nother.
Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is really playing one of his personalities.
Yeah, but honestly, I don't think Nicolas Cage is even playing Nicolas Cage. I think he's like a whole new personality.
Nicolas Cage is basically just if Jared Leto was stable.
If Jared Leto was cool. How many? Jared Leto. I'm playing Mobius.
Morbius.
Whatever his name is.
The Marvel vampire.
Yeah, the living vampire. And then it was Nicolas Cage. What do you play? I'm playing Ghost Rider. A maniacally laughing, just insane character. Acts nothing like Johnny Cage. Is just that shit insane.
Johnny Blaze.
Johnny Cage. I'm drinking rum. All right.
Yeah, I thought I was drinking the hard stuff tonight.
I'm
Can you imagine
rum.
A crossover between like Mortal Kombat and Marvel where Johnny Cage just became a Ghost Rider, and because of all the green shit going around, he just has like green fire.
Oh, that'd be sweet. But back to Doom before we get completely off track, though.
Sorry. So Doom, I'm talking about Jason Momoa.
I mean, to me, this is again,
beautiful man.
Listen, this is part of the course for these streams. Side tangents, random jokes, going haywire, things breaking apart. I'm a walking
side tangent.
I'm a living side tangent.
You implying I'm not living?
Yeah.
Well,
I've never seen you before.
You absolutely have. I have shown my face multiple times.
I don't know who that man is. As far as I know, that could just be like a recording of some Joe Schmo. You could have went to like what's that website, Craigslist, and said like, "Hey, I need video of some dude." And first dude answered like, "Yo, I got you." And it's gonna be like, "This is me. This is totally who I am. It's just this random guy."
Hell no, that's me.
Anyway.
Speaking of random guys, one thing that made me laugh about this movie, and it's not even a bad thing, it was one of those where it's like, I don't know what it is about this man. I saw Dave Bautista pop up, and he wasn't bad. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't like terrible at acting. I don't know why, but when I saw him, it took me out of the film for a second. I think it's because it's him, but pale and bald. But at the same time, I also liked how like unhinged he was at the same time.
He was legitimately threatening. Like,
yeah,
honestly, like for a villain that doesn't really do a whole lot. Personally, like, I mean, he makes a lot of stuff happen, but he doesn't do a whole lot, and he just kind of randomly floats, and it's weird. But he felt well done.
I kind of expect him to kind of betray his uncle in like the sequel, because let's face it, there's going to be a sequel.
Don't spoil it too much, Matt, because like I said, the three of us haven't.
So I spaced out. I thought we were talking about Stellan Skarsgård's character.
We'll get to him in a second because he was also really cool too.
There is one thing about Baron Harkonnen that I'll get to when we get to the character, because there's one aspect of him that will never be in an adaptation ever.
Oh, I'm curious, but yeah, there was one thing I was like, this film had a lot of characters, but it didn't feel like too bloated, and I think that's because it kind of like
it felt almost thin.
Yeah, it did, and I don't mean thin as in a bad thing. If I meant thin is with the context of knowing this was a novel in its own series of like it's its own universe. I kind of already knew that whatever they were showing was kind of scratching the surface of what was actually there. Like I could easily see this movie. How long was this movie?
2.5 hours.
I could see this movie being like 4 hours long, and then it's just like putting everything that novel probably had, and it was just, again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I had this feeling that there was a lot more stuff that they probably could have put in here, and they, for the sake of not boring your audience with a 4 hour long movie, they was just like, let's just get to the point.
I kind of respect the way that it went, though. I mean, let's face it, that first hour and a half, they probably could have squeezed in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops, if they basically just did like some like montages and cuts every so often. But they stuck to their guns and they actually showed the entire thing. And I think the story ended up being better because of it.
And one thing I'll say that actually had me intrigued was the universe itself. Like, it had like just enough of like the stuff that was going on in the background that had me curious. Like, they mentioned like the Empire, the Emperor. They mentioned those like those psychic sisters or whatever. Like all that stuff. It was all surface level, but at the same time, it was like I was curious to find out more, and what they showed was like, I'm sure like later in other films and stuff they'll probably go deeper into that, but what they showed was enough to have me teased for more in a good way. Especially
Yeah,
like
it
the whole Empire stuff,
definitely
because
left
I
me
love the
wanting
whole
more.
I love space Empire stuff. To me, that's
That is
that's
pretty
like my
cool.
bread and butter. Like, I love that shit, unironically. Try to think of some other stuff that was interesting.
Well,
I think it's one thing that I kind of noticed. And I think we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but not too much. Is that just how well stocked this movie's cast was with like recognizable faces, and how like all of them are gone now.
Yeah, that's true. That's something I kind of didn't really think
I
about, is
mean,
how like, because I know this is something movies do all the time, where they'll get like a well stacked cast of people,
mhm.
like people who you could sell your movie based on name alone.
Yeah,
And it was interesting to see how the movie didn't really, at least to me, it didn't seem like it was relying on that. Like, they very easily could have. I mean, because I know like the go-to, and I hate to even admit it, but like guys like Josh Brolin, like, who's been in plenty of other stuff besides Marvel movies. But the minute I saw him, all I could think was Thanos. And
yeah, exactly. Like, and not only that, but like the very first words he said, just "I am smiling," like that was it. Really, for some reason, like it never really occurred to me that Thanos. That's literally like the Thanos voice. That's literally just what Josh Brolin sounds like. He wasn't doing a voice or anything. Like that's just him. And I just kind of sat there listening. I'm like, dang,
he's got a very
I want,
powerful voice.
I want,
It's very,
like I have
um.
a good voice, but I don't have that.
Maybe I looked away for a while, but did he actually die? I don't
So
know.
okay, that's actually something me and Velvet were talking about.
Mhm.
That we never actually saw him die. And I remember her husband was saying, because he had seen the original movies, that he did die during that invasion. And I
Oh,
was
that sucks.
rewatching it last night, and I realized, we really didn't show him die. But I was thinking about it. He was with his soldiers on the stairs when they got, flanked by both the Harkonnens and like the Imperial Guard, when like everybody died there. Like,
You
so
want to have an answer to that?
I'm sorry.
Do you want to have really want an answer to that?
You know what? Don't answer that.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't.
Okay.
And here's why. Because I actually had that same thought today. Like, when we were like, even before like the strain, I was just thinking about the movie, and I just thought to myself, I don't recall seeing him dying. And Like, I know it's based, this the previous movie, this the books, but I'm also a firm believer that, like, if someone's gonna die in your story, show them die, especially someone who's like prominently a character, like a prominent character. So I'm of the opinion that I wouldn't be surprised if he does come back in some weird way. Um, and for the sake of me just trying to prove myself right or wrong, just don't give me the answer because I want to see. Like that's the thing about this movie. Normally, when it comes to like movies, I don't care about spoilers because it's like I've already decided I'm not going to watch it. But this is a movie I legit don't want too many spoilers because I'm actually curious as to see what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, you first.
At the end of it, me and the three people watching with me, like it just kind of ended, and we were just sitting there, we're like, wait, 2.5 hours has passed. Like, holy shit! And we just kind of all just kind of universally just more.
That universal, what
Give me
happens
more.
next?
Like,
I will say I do appreciate that they at least in the title of the film and the opening of the film they say part one.
because
Which-
and then Timothy Shamalang and Ding Dong tweeted out or put us on Instagram or something that part 2 was confirmed and they're already working on it. So
I'm glad. I mean, because it ended up being a real surprise. I mean, again, this movie's coming out recently have been a bit of hit or miss. I mean, sometimes they're really good, and sometimes it's just like meh. And it was just nice to see that this one was actually a pretty good movie, and I am glad that they made a sequel to it. So
I'm really hoping they do. I don't want to, like, for obvious reasons I'm bringing it up. I don't want anyone to think I'm being biased of it, but I kind of hope they pull a Lord of the Rings kind of thing where they kind of shoot the movies back to back.
super fast.
Yeah, that way, even if they don't release them immediately, but just so there's that little bit of like connectivity. Because I know, like, what a lot of movies, and because I rewatched Game of Thrones not too long ago, and I know there was an issue of like the show took longer, obviously, than what the story was actually telling. Like in the story, multiple years passed, but obviously more years passed in real life, and there were certain actors who very clearly were not the age they were supposed to be. Yeah, and so
well, I mean, even from the get-go, a lot of the actors were aged up simply for like the fact that nobody was gonna want to watch Jason Momoa having sex with a 13-year-old girl.
Exactly. So I'm hoping they do a little bit, at least in the sense of like, I don't know, because franchises today are kind of funky where you'll shoot the 2 movies and then you'll never get the 3rd film, or the first film is terrible but they keep shooting the other ones. I don't know. Hopefully, if the second one is as good as this one, or as good as this one was, that they just kind of continuously shoot them instead of kind of like spacing them out.
Well, that depends on whether or not they want to do the other books in the series.
That's true too, because there's like a lot of books in the series, isn't there?
Paul's story ends with Children of Dune. Dune Messiah is where Prequels going to lose their minds.
I feel like they said there were 3 books?
I'm looking it up right now, just there.
There's 6 written by Frank Herbert, and an entire franchise by his son.
Good God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh God, I'm looking at it
wow,
right now.
there's going to be a lot of movies then, because apparently this movie only covered like the first half of the first book.
oh wow,
Oh my God, yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and a lot of these stories, at least according to what I'm looking at here, some of these are prequel stories.
Yeah, the Brian Herbert ones aren't worth it.
Ooh.
They're awful.
good to know. Still,
I love the title of the second book. Oh no, let me rephrase. It's not the second book. What's this one? 2008, Paul of Dune.
Yeah, it's a midquel.
I don't know, that name is just so funny to me. Paul of Dune.
I saw this. I think it was a tweet saying it's like, the funniest thing about about Dune being in like a futuristic setting, like 100,000 years in the future, or like 10,000 years in the future, is that you have main characters named Duncan, Jessica, and Paul when nobody's named their children that since like 2005.
I mean,
And I just find that funny because I have family members named Paul,
I
or
mean,
a
Paul
family
is
member.
Paul is a biblical name, so
Yeah, like that's not
it's
going away.
yeah, that's not going away anytime soon. I
It
will
might be a
say,
little bit less prevalent, but it's no.
I don't know why Duncan, Idaho was a funny name to me because I'm like, how far into the future is this? And they're still in Idaho.
Right?
Like you would think Idaho would have been wiped off the map by now.
I would
I'm
think
kidding. I don't-
Idaho would have been wiped off
You
the
know,
map by
you know,
2030.
well, if you go by the prequels, all of the Earth has been blown away because humanity has nuked it.
Checks out.
That traditional
Don't we
sci-fi
always?
trope.
But that's only in the Brian Herbert setting.
I will say, in my writing, I'm a little bit proud of myself because my post-apocalyptic story is not nuclear.
You know what? Velvet brings up a good point. First of all, she brings up two good points. I'll point out the second one she just put up is that the book was written in 1965. So there's a bit of different context there when you really think about that. Like,
Yes.
obviously, the world was a very different place than what it is today, especially considering what was going on in that era. So it makes sense that most people would put a story where it's like we nuked the planet and thus we took to the stars.
Well, that whole nuking happened during this whole very bland, generic man versus machine prequel story written by Brian Herbert.
Are you telling me that? Are you telling me the
Matrix?
I was just gonna say the prequel to Dune is the freaking Matrix.
Yeah, all the people who were off
yes.
planet at the time, those were the people who eventually became the people in Doom or some crap like that.
Yeah,
that'd actually be a very interesting sci-fi setting right there. That alone, even if it already exists, that already sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, though, from the Dune Encyclopedia that hasn't been published in decades, the whole war against machines happened when a machine forcefully aborted a Bene Gesserit's baby.
He's like, all right, that's enough humans.
Yeah, something like that, but...
Oh, wow, I was just joking.
Well, actually, how Frank Herbert has it is that this war happened because of men who controlled machines that used it to subdue other humans. So basically, Frank Herbert predicted Facebook and Google.
So, but yeah, I was about to say basically like, well, again, this is 1965, so, well, I don't know. Wait, no, because I'm sure that story came out much later. That like the whole prequel, right, of like the machine war.
There was a machine war, but it was very different in the prequel novels than was depicted in the actual novels.
Okay.
It gets very confusing because Ryan Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson decided to do their own ideas without reading the books beforehand. So in a way, actually, I've got a very simple way of explaining things. Brian Herbert is the movie executive who does not understand the books he's adapting.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I'm looking up some more stuff when it comes to the movie and stuff.
Jay, I'm gonna tag you in something real quick.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me.
Actually, something? I just thought of something. If I were to tell you guys about what
Gumby, what the hell? But I love it. Oh, sorry, dude. Apparently, someone did it out. I don't even know how to explain it. Look at my Twitter if you want to see why I'm laughing. Gumby, thank you, and what the hell?
Honestly, though, like anytime I see art of that particular character that you haven't already retweeted, I always try to tag you in it. Same as like with Zatanna and Sauron, like Chun Li and Kraken, um, like Velma and Slim. I think there's like one other. And then, the same way, whenever there's She-Hulk stuff, people tag me.
Oh yeah, like that's side tangent, but I love that. Like that's that constant tagging of like, yo, here's your
Waifu.
favorite waifu artwork I
Yeah.
found. It's like you are a godsend. But
Bros support bros.
one thing I will say, this is the other thing I was going to mention with Velvet, and I didn't know this because obviously I didn't have the context. But
Oh.
apparently, like even this first film doesn't even cover the entire first book.
Well, I mean, that's what I said.
Like that's
Good cup of cakes.
crazy to me.
I need to take off my hoodie real quick.
Well, the best, what's been considered the best adaptation was I think it was 6 hours long Sci-Fi Channel miniseries.
No.
It's a sci-fi miniseries.
Yeah, and it was actually considered to be great. Although, if you watch it now, it has not aged well.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, sometimes that does happen. I'm gonna get some water, but I'll be right back.
I mean, it's a sci-fi original series, so there's only so much they can do with that.
Well, they had William Hurt play Duke Leto. Oh yeah, and here's a funny thing I noticed about Dune. Patrick Stewart was in the 84 movie.
He was Gurney in the first one.
Yep, and James McAvoy was in the sci-fi miniseries adaptation of Children of Dune.
Huh.
So, like, I kind of feel bad now because Dune is just straight up looking into it. Like, Dune is straight up like a big, sci-fi, sci-fi franchise that like I just straight up never even bothered getting into.
Yeah,
though- At least from this movie alone, like this seems right up my alley. I kind of feel bad about that.
it's really good. And honestly, better late than never, dude. I'd never really heard of it until they announced this movie, and then I'm like, oh, what is this? And I remember, I can't even remember which of my friends was talking about. I really want to say it was Anima, who was talking about it that honestly, if it was, it wouldn't surprise me. That definitely seems like right up her alley. And that's how I learned it was books first, and then like another movie trilogy, or however movies it was. And then when like Velvet was saying, she said her mom was talking about the movie. Her mom was super into the books. And so
I saw that.
I would like talk about it with them on like our D&D nights, and so like I was just learning a little bit about it, and so I'm just I'm sort of amazed because it's like, how have I not even heard of it? Like I can understand me not reading it or watching it or anything, but how have I not even heard of this?
I think it's one of those, especially in like today's market, in the sense that everything's a franchise that's constantly being pushed out. And to me, it's like if it's not like it seems like one of those, like, even though Dune is its own thing, has its own fan base, because it wasn't so much as like mainstream. It wasn't like, I can see how it wasn't someone could like, I don't want to say overlook it, but not hear about it because it's not really a mainstream thing. I feel like this movie is probably going to be the closest it gets to being a mainstream thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that doesn't lead to like
Marvelization.
Oh God! Everything's a cinematic universe. Everything's cinematic. Oh God! Like, I'm glad that we're getting past that era of movies in Hollywood, because everything in Hollywood's like, especially like, probably it's like since like the 80s maybe, it's been trend chasing. Like I think Matt, posted something about this earlier, where it's um, like I think I even mentioned like zombie movies. It's the reason why we had a bunch of zombie movies
Yep.
like in the mid 2000s, early 2010s and stuff back during like the height of The Walking Dead, where it's like Hollywood chases trends, and for a while, like it was the trend was like a little bit of a mix of like superhero slash cinematic universes. Um, so and I think that's another reason why I like this film is that it felt so much not part of the current trend. It felt unique, even though technically speaking, again, I'm not saying anything about Dune itself not being unique. I'm talking about like, the film itself. Technically speaking, it's not necessarily something we haven't seen before, especially since the '60s, in the sense of like grand space opera sci-fi stories. But because of like the current market of today's movies, this felt so uniquely its own.
It did.
And one thing I will say, and this is something uh it puts it in perspective a little bit. There was a post I saw a while back when this movie first came out where someone was talking about like this movie was so devoid of like comedy, and of course like I made the joke and several other people made the joke where it's like, oh, you just want quips, because that's exactly what they were basically saying. And then watching this film, it's like, why would you watch this film and think comedy was what they were trying to even shoot for? Like this is not a comedic film in any way.
I actually had a little bit of a debate with my stepdad this morning because he had like messaged he had watched it over. He's actually out of country right now, but he watched over where he's at, and he told my mom not to watch it because it was horrible. He absolutely hated it, and I spoke to him this morning, and I was like, "How the hell do you hate Dune?" And I realized I'm like, he really was going into it, and I can kind of understand it because like what he said was the trailers kind of made it seem like he was basically gonna be watching Star Wars, and so he went into it sort of expecting this action-packed, fun, Star Wars-y sci-fi movie, and that's really not what it is. Now, I'm glad that's not what it is. But I can definitely see what he was talking about with that's almost how it was advertised.
Yeah, and this is one thing this is why I stopped watching movie trailers. Unless there's like an initial trailer. I wouldn't, not even a teaser trailer. I usually watch like the first full trailer, and then from there I kind of usually have a good context of if I'm going to see this movie or not. And I don't mean like I watch the trailer and then go like, oh, this movie's gonna be trash, I'm not watching it. It's just simply more or less like, oh, this looks interesting, I'll watch it, or this doesn't really look like my cup of tea, I'm not really gonna bother with it. It's not one of those where it's like I look at the trailer and immediately it's just like this movie's fantastic or this movie's terrible. It's just interest based.
It's strange in this day and age. I used to hate when I got spoilers and everything like that, but now I kind of found myself appreciating them. So when I see something that's like, it looks a little suspect in a trailer, it's just like, maybe I should take a look and see, is this going to be potentially something cringe or something nasty or something that's going to be annoying? And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. In the best case scenario, it's just like, whatever. Middle case scenario, I'll get past it. Worst case scenario, I just saved myself $60 to $100.
Honestly, like Velvet, I don't even remember the Lord of the Rings trailers. Like, I legit do not remember them. So it doesn't surprise me that they would be cheesy, because I know that's like a tactic for a lot of movies, is that like they'll simply make the trailers look really flashy or whatever, or whatever they are, just to get people to come see it. I know this is kind of the movie that caused me to not care about trailers is BVS. I remember very specifically. I think it was like the final trailer before the movie came out.
They just straight up showed Doomsday there.
No. I hate the BVS Doomsday. That's a whole nother topic, but because Doomsday is one of my favorite characters. But
same.
It was the case of like the trailer was very stylish. It was very. I won't say it was action packed, but it had like. It looked very. It made the film look a lot more exciting than what it was.
So kind of like the last Jedi trailer, right?
Yeah.
Last Jedi is a special case for me because I love Star Wars. Like,
Last Jedi for me, I remember coming out of the theater still having that hype, and I'm like, wow, that was so cool. And then I went home, I talked to like my family about it, I thought about it, and I was like, wait,
I thought about it, and then I was like, wait a minute.
motherfuckers.
Oh no, I was. I won't say I was like. I'll admit I had like excitement when I was coming out of there, but I was straight up like, when did I see that movie?
Probably
Oh, God.
2017.
But I'm trying to think where in the world was I? Like, I don't remember off the top of my head. That tells you a lot about my life. But I just remember coming out of there,
Travel,
and
man.
and I think I was straight up like confused. I think I was legitimately like walking home with my friends, and I was just like, I don't know if I liked it. Like, I don't know.
That was me after watching The Lighthouse.
Actually,
Oh
the
God, the lighthouse. Oh, back to Dune.
yeah, good idea. Good idea. Good idea.
Oh God, but that's the thing. I'll say that's a good segue. Is that when I came out of this movie after I finished watching it, I legit was like, I didn't have to sit there and like try to convince myself it was good or bad. I was literally like, I enjoyed that. I had fun with it, and yeah, like the ending of the movie really got me like wanting more. And that's that if you're gonna make a series of films and you kind of like from the get go let people know that's what this is, I don't think there's anything wrong with like establishing that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Like this felt like a chapter. It felt like a chapter in a story.
Though you got to be careful with going with that kind of mindset too. Remember the Golden Compass?
Oh yeah,
It's
where
like,
like
oh, I'm
sequel
sorry.
baiting and then boom, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it was just kind of
God,
ironic. It was
Dracula
like Nicole,
Untold.
what do you call it? Nicole Kidman's character was like, looks like she was getting ready for more stuff, and then like we were waiting for the sequel that never happened. It's just like, what the hell?
I never actually saw The Golden Compass.
It wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst movie.
Didn't
I
they
know,
do like a
like,
series?
I think I remember very, very, very vaguely. I think like my parents, because I was like really young when it came out. My parents were like very against it because didn't they like just the animals? They just called them like demons.
Yeah, but they weren't
And
really actually demons in the traditional sense.
yeah, like I
So,
mean, there was that, and then I heard something about God being a ferret of some kind,
God's a
and I'm
ferret.
like,
Oh Lord,
I,
literally.
I and something about like him being tortured, and I'm like, what?
I don't know. When it comes to like fantasy stories, even if they have like very obvious like real life, or I should say like real religious inspiration, like it's still like one of those. Like it's still a fantasy story. It's like with Narnia, where like what's his name, Aslan is literally. Well, no, I promised myself I would stop using literally
he's
when it's
fantasy
not
Jesus.
actually appropriate. But he's practically Jesus Christ. Like his
Yeah.
story is pretty much that of Jesus Christ.
Well,
And
yeah, it's supposed to be an allegory.
and I know people were like, you know, this was like back in the day where people were talking about how like it was obvious that they didn't like it, and not necessarily from like the standpoint of it being obvious, but more in the standpoint of like they didn't like it kind of poking at the religion. I was like, first of all, it's not. There's a lot more offensive allegories to Jesus and Christianity, and second of all, like ultimately, it is this in this context, it's a fantasy story, which in Dune they kind of play on that as well with the whole like chosen one thing for Paul, which I actually kind of like, especially when he kind of like, I don't know if this is the right term, but when he kind of like weaponized it in a way, like in the sense,
Basically, he's a man playing God.
yeah, that's like I like that, like how he's like, all right, I need to get, I need to get back at these assholes who killed my people, my father, and all that. Like, what's the best way to
Haven't
do
we
that?
all been there?
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't faked being a deity from time to time? It's just part of the course, man. If you say you haven't, you're lying.
I have not in real life.
Suspect. That's
I've
red
done it.
flags.
I've
Red
done
flags.
it like a ridiculous amount of time in like fictional worlds.
I
Does
thought he
doing
was
it in
about to say
Overwatch
like
count?
I've done it on Twitter.
I have not done it on Twitter yet, but
Oh
Twitter
my
is a
god!
fictional world, correct?
I about to say that is a pretty fictional place right there.
As the great Mr. Chappelle said, Twitter is not a real place.
I don't give a fuck because Twitter's not a real place.
That was a really good special. But before we get off topic, Dune.
Oh no, I mean like it was all
We're
this good
fucking
segue because
awful.
I actually like as much as I'd like to hark on like deconstruction stuff, it's that like I don't hate deconstruction inherently because a lot of
You just
some
hate
of
it
my
when it's handled badly.
yeah because like when it comes to deconstruction, it's like I always say like if you're gonna do a good deconstruction, not only do you need to you don't have to necessarily like the thing you're deconstructing, you need to understand it and understand why people enjoy it. And then once you deconstruct it, you have to build something new from it because if you just leave it broken, then what's the point? It's just a broken mess. And anyone can break something. It takes, real effort to actually make something new. And this
Yeah,
movie, at
absolutely.
least again, from this is only the part one, so there's no telling where they go from here, especially in terms of this adaptation. But so far, it seems like it's going to be taking a route like that, where it's like deconstructing the chosen one story type and then going somewhere else with it. Because I know, even from what I can't think of off the top of my head, I know there are stories that do that, where it's like someone is faking being the chosen one and using that to their advantage, but I still like it here. Like it's very. I think it's because even if I can't recall, I know I've seen it before, but it does still feel refreshing to kind of see something like that and not be so like it doesn't poke fun at people for thinking that's a good idea. Like story wise, at least so far, like it doesn't seem like it's poking fun at like, oh, you believe in a chosen one? What are you, an idiot? Like no, it
Yeah.
actually kind of takes a little bit of nuance to it.
Okay, I got a question. Hopefully, this is the right time for it because it is Dune related. Why did the Emperor do what he did to basically screw over the main characters?
Um,
Big-
so it's because like it's like Leto was saying to Paul in the graveyard that the other houses look to House Atreides for leadership. So because of that, the Emperor felt threatened by them,
Hmm.
and so what he
Yeah.
did, he took Arrakis away from Harkonnen, knowing it would piss them off, and he gave it to Atreides, basically painting a big red target on the back of House Atreides, so Harkonnen will come in there and just go full on Dave Bautista on their asses.
Okay.
And
Yeah, like
so basically eliminated. It's like Leto said, it was going to weaken both houses, and that way the Emperor had fewer
the
threats to his
Emperor
power.
kickstarted a war to assassinate his enemies.
Yeah.
Oh, what a dick!
Yeah, like as a fellow despot myself, that's some impressive shit right there. I'm gonna start
Yeah.
I'm gonna move some pieces around, start a war just so they can kill my enemies for me. Like that's some baller shit right there. Also, Velvet, which author are you referring to? Are you referring to the author of Dune or Golden Compass or was it Narnia? Because I don't know, but I can look it up if.
Narnia is definitely not an atheist, so I think she was talking about Golden Compass.
I wonder who. You know, what, I'll look it up as we talk, but it's always been kind of curious. Oh, yeah, Golden Compass. I don't know. It's always been kind of curious to me. It's like not that it matters, but because it's like because I noticed that before, where it's like people who aren't like of a religious um background, they seem to like take like heavy inspiration from those religious aspects, and I always find that kind of interesting.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it as long as you aren't a dick about it.
Oh no, there's nothing. Well, yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, but at the same time, it's like I feel like that's where you'll get some really interesting like. I won't say I won't say it's like one for one, but I do think that is a chance for you to get some very interesting like ironically enough, deconstruction of it, especially because, like I said, like it'd be interesting to see someone who's straight up an atheist, but at the same time understands a religion and then uses it for inspiration to tell a story. Like that, to me, that would be a very interesting route to take. Um, Phil Pullman, um, author of Golden Compass. I don't know how to find his religious beliefs. Let's see. Is Phil Pullman a atheist? Um, while I'm doing that, though, one thing we can't talk about is, I guess you could call him the main villain. What's his name? Baron Vladimir Harkin.
Or
Yeah, that
Conan.
dude's dick.
Yeah, like it took me a second to realize, I know it was body makeup, but like for a split second, I was like, did what's his name? Skarsgård? Is that how you say his name?
Stone scarred.
Stellan
Yeah.
Skarsgård, yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård. I was like, did he put on weight or is he wearing like a suit? Because like I know that
think
man
he's
is
wearing
not.
a suit.
Yeah, he has to be wearing a suit, but like I don't know. It was just like he looks human, but at the same time, it's like there's that little bit of
Well.
uncanniness to him, and it made him stand out even more, especially among his own people who are already like bald-headed, pale-skinned people. I thought that was very interesting.
I
Would
do
you-
think it was a fat suit.
Oh, definitely. And would you believe that he's a lot worse in the novels?
He's not worse.
He's a lot worse.
Oh well, I mean, yeah, that's usually how that goes because it's like
Well,
sometimes you just got to tone it down for the movie.
he's a gay pedophile in the book.
Oh Lord!
Whoa, hello.
I can
Yeah.
see why they dropped that.
Yeah.
Most of the time I hate censorship and the stuff that goes with it, but I'm okay with this cut.
Yeah.
I am very much okay with this cut. Thank you.
Hey,
I guess,
guys,
there's a-
I guess
there's a
Hollywood
lot of
just, they had to pretend they didn't approve.
Well, the thing about Baron Harkonnen is that he's supposed to represent the gluttony of a ruling class.
yeah, like the fat cats at the top.
Yep. Hey, it's
I mean-
Hollywood.
I mean, that's pretty much yeah. I was gonna say it's pretty on the nose. Like whenever your villain is like, and I hate because I hate going into the whole like identity politics BS, but it's like when your villain is like fat rich white guy, it's usually pretty obvious what they're trying to insinuate with that.
Mhm. Honestly, though, that's another thing I really felt was good about Dune is that they really didn't seem to stuff in any like random current politics.
No, they did not. That was
Well,
impressive.
the director is noted as fiercely anti-politics in his movies.
Massive
Good for
respect,
I,
man.
I ironically, and you know, I even say I think that makes this better, where it's like it's not using real world politics. The politics are the in universe politics, and you know, politics suck. It's a very boring subject, but when it got that space fantasy, sci-fi politics, that's my shit. That's the cool shit right there.
It's actually kind of funny, but Frank Herbert does put his politics in there. It's just that you don't notice it.
But yeah, he like you know, they make it organic to the story in the sense that it's like it's not so obviously like a commentary. It's more like an inspiration.
Yeah, and he was a guy with views all over the place.
And one thing I'll say though is the one thing that always tripped me out was how the dude was straight up like levitating. Like that was throwing me for a goddamn loop because at first I thought he was just that tall.
Yeah.
I was like, how what is this? Like what is the practicality of being this tall? But then I
Because
was like, oh,
he's that fat.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he's floating. Like he's literally levitating off the ground.
He's
And then,
so... Well, God.
And then
Oh.
that scene with the bath, like it's not really a spoiler because there's like pictures of it all over the internet where he's like coming out of that sludge, and I don't know what it was about that, but it's like I can see why people were memeing it because out of context it looks so funny. just a big heavy man coming out of a pool of sludge like some kind of goddamn human alligator. But
There is, I will say that there's a bunch of things that happened before the movie should have ended that happened in the book that would have been one hell of a twist for the first movie. Well, I'm just gonna leave you at that with that.
yeah,
Fair
so
enough.
see that's the thing though. This got me really curious. Like, I don't want to sound like too dramatic with it, but I'm genuinely excited to see the next film.
Mhm.
And again, I don't want to get so dramatic with it, but I don't really recall the last time I had that same feeling towards a movie, like completely, absolutely, like I can't wait to see it. Um, I legit can't think of like the last time, the recent time, because just movies like obviously like go further back to like Star Wars and stuff like that, where I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what the next step is. But this one, I legitimately can't wait to see part two. Which when is that coming out? Let's look it up real quick.
2023.
Oh, it's too long.
It's not that long.
It's
They
long
need
enough.
time. They do need time to film the movie.
I'm long enough.
It's just one of those where it's like, again, it's like, see, that's the good thing is like, it's got me wanting more, which is if you're like, even if your movie isn't gonna have a continuous part, that is kind of what you want your audience to have, to some degree, is that like wanting more, even if it's not necessarily like a movie that every obviously has a sequel, but in the sense that like you kind of like, well, what happens next?
Everything happens now.
Everything
Literally,
and nothing.
Darth Vader comes down on a Star Destroyer, and he thought it was Tatooine. He's come to destroy the planet.
Spice.
Well,
Spice.
there's going to be an epic battle at the end. That's what I can tell you.
I mean, yeah,
Actually,
there
that
was
was one
already
thing
kind
that
of
was-
hinting at that.
Yeah, that was the one thing that was. I wasn't disappointed at the ending. I think the ending was perfect for what what the movie was. But it is weird the advertising because it looked like there was going to be like a massive end battle with Jason Momoa being one of the front runners to help out, and he died pretty awesome. Oh shit, sorry. Honey,
I
mean,
listen.
We're not exactly avoiding spoilers on this.
Yeah,
My girlfriend wanted to see it though. Shit, and she's listening. I'm so sorry, honey.
I
Well,
mean,
honestly, like if Jess doesn't want spoilers, why is she watching this?
no, because
She's watching for
usually,
me, and she's
usually
awesome.
I say like a spoiler warning at the beginning. And
I
didn't
well,
really-
I-
I didn't really
I'm
think
just
about
saying that because I remember seeing on Twitter like the next day after our last one that she still like ignored your spoiler warning and still was like kept listening when you were talking about Steven Universe.
Oh, that is true.
it.
So
Yeah. Love you, honey.
It's one of those things where it's like, especially in today's like where information is so readily available, it's actually pretty hard to not get spoiled on a movie or something simply by just being on the internet in the way, especially like how a lot of people like news articles will just start talking about a film. People will start posting stuff about the films and stuff like that. Like it can be difficult, and especially like for us, like especially like on this stream where we usually talk about stuff that's been out well few many years. So I completely forgot like Dune just came out. Like I didn't even think about that context. So that's my bad. Should have put a spoiler warning at the beginning of this. But either way, like again, it comes with the territory of like this isn't a professional stream. If you came here looking for professionalism, I'm sorry to say you've come to the wrong place.
But if you come to look for something fun, you came to the right place.
Yep.
Oh, that's still kind of questionable from my perspective.
What you saying? We're not fun?
I'm not fun.
You bitch.
Well, I'm just fucking adorable.
I'll take your word for it. Well, the
No,
only
I'm
person we
not.
know.
I am actually horrible, but
I was going to say the only person we know. Well, let me rephrase that. The only person we somewhat know what they look like is Gumby here. If that really was him, we
It
saw.
absolutely is. All right.
I don't know. I think you may have hired an actor to just pretend to be you.
It's just some random white guy on the street. Hey man, I need you to do me a favor.
Well,
No,
like
can you do me a solid?
you turn the stream off. I will show my face right here.
Yeah.
Not on stream. I'm not revealing my face publicly. That's
Oh no.
No. I totally understand.
Why do you think I wear this helmet?
Why do you think I put a Simpsons thing on here, which I'm thinking of really changing because honestly, The Simpsons has been such a massive disappointment, and a lot of the other stuff that's been coming out with Simpsons graphics recently.
See, Velvet verified.
No, but if he had a full beard and was white, it was him. Yeah. As if that narrows it down. No, I'm kidding. No, oh god.
I do have a full beard though, so ha.
Hey, so Jess gives her approval.
Oh, thank you, honey. Love
It is
you.
okay. She says that now, but that's just a save face.
Well, there's a little bit of a lag when it comes to the stream, so she probably just heard it, 2 minutes after we said the thing. So honey, appreciate you saying what you did.
Mm-hmm. She's saying that now because there's people watching, but like I'm sure at some point Jay's gonna get it.
Absolutely.
Nah, she's cool like that. She's definitely. If I fuck up,
he's got a knife. He's got a knife to his throat right now.
No, I'm kidding.
She's cool. She's cool, guys. She would never totally do that. Ow! Oh, I mean, oh, it's getting kind of warm in here.
Oh, she just said that she loved me in real time. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Cute. That is so cute.
It's so sweet. It's disgusting.
I'm gonna cry myself.
Fair enough.
It's so sweet. I'm developing cavities.
My terminally single ass.
My cold, dark, black heart is finally getting some a feeling to it.
Go say hi to Sheila. Get some of that spicy.
Oh God!
Well, she said she loves me too. Yeah. Okay, enough about me and my girlfriend. Dune.
No, I just gotta say this one thing. We gotta one day do like not even just a Lord of the Rings stream. I want to specifically do like Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War stream because that's a whole can of worms right there.
Oh, I really want to replay those.
Yeah. Well, actually,
so fun.
one of the things that we could do, or maybe not do, who knows, depending on how it goes. When the Amazon version of Lord of the Rings, or whatever the fuck they're going to be calling it, comes out, it's one of those things I want to see it, but I don't want to give them money or attention. Just so I can see how bad it's going to be. And I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck I can do that. Because I can do that with animation. Okay, let's put it this way. I found other methods of doing animation. It's like how I watched the Harley Quinn show. Like, this is actually pretty good.
Dune.
And then the second one was like, oh God, I'm glad I didn't give these people money.
Don't pirate Dune. Give them money.
Don't pirate
Dune. No. I'm
Dune.
just going to say it's funny how Dune has a score by Hans Zimmer.
Oh my God! That was
that Hans Zimmer?
Yes. Yep. Okay, that makes
so much sense. That freaking score.
I was just talking to someone the other day about Hans Zimmer, and we were saying how like it feels like some of his. I haven't listened to every single Hans Zimmer soundtrack there's been, so I'm just gonna get that context. But as of late, some of his soundtracks haven't been the ones I've heard. Just haven't felt that great. Like I wouldn't call them bad, but they just didn't feel like anything special. This movie, however, there were some soundtracks. I might have to look up because I really, really like them. But
yeah, it's like
God.
Velvet was saying she's scared about the Lord of the Rings series because they want to make it edgier. Not only that, they want to add in like what do they say, like tasteful nudity or like some random sex scenes as well.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say it right now. It's gonna be a mess. I don't care.
It's gonna be a mess. Shit show, and
But back to Dune real quick, because I do want to say this. Like that soundtrack,
Mm,
I love a good soundtrack. Like I
beautiful.
don't care
Wait.
what it is. I love a good soundtrack, and that was. I got to look up some of these tracks, but some of those tracks were just like It just felt epic. It felt
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, hold on. Soundtrack or score? Because this felt like more like the score was great.
Well, I know it's like I don't know
I'm
because I
sorry, I shouldn't go on technicalities, but still.
no because you're right because so this used to be what they would call a score was just like the music to the film. Nowadays they kind of brand them as soundtracks regardless. There used to be films had scores and soundtracks.
Hmm.
Now they kind of just have scores that they just release as soundtracks and just call them soundtracks. But like I will say like unironically as say what you will about Man of Steel, but the soundtrack to Man of Steel is by far one of my favorite soundtracks, and I will argue that it's probably one of the best soundtracks to a superhero film. And this one was amazing. I'm not saying it's like one of the best, but I thoroughly enjoyed. Like, I gotta see. I wish I like took notes on exactly what scenes the soundtracks played on, but there was some where it just felt so amazing, so epic.
Yeah, I did like the score for the Battle of Smallville and Zod versus Superman. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I can't think of the titles of those, but yeah, this film, and that's another thing I love about movies is a good soundtrack. I don't care. You can give me a shitty movie, and you got a good soundtrack, it will automatically make that film better to me. Like if the film was like a 5, the soundtrack makes it a 6, even a 7 if it's good enough.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love so many 80s movies so much is because the soundtrack and the score are just so amazing. I mean, the movies themselves can be a little cheesy and campy, and some of them are just downright terrible, but the score really helps the movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
It helps tie in certain like scenes and elements.
Hmm.
Like like if you're watching a scene, let's say like someone dying, like a very important character, it's a sad moment, but the music is all happy and joyful. It ruins the moment. But if you got like the right sound to it, it elevates what already is a good scene.
Yeah.
Oh God, excuse me.
You okay, man?
I'm sorry. I've been drinking rum, so got a little burps.
Yeah, my first experience with Rome was back in May, and it's not good.
My first experience was in the Navy.
I
Choice.
I think I was allergic, honestly.
Oh,
It happens.
that
Like
is.
I woke up and you see that little thing in the corner where it says live? You see the red?
I was dead.
That was my skin color.
Oh Lord.
That happened to me one time too. It was actually during my college graduation. For
See,
whatever
for you,
reason,
it's even more impressive that your skin turned that color.
Well, yeah. Here's the whole story. I'll summarize the story. So so a good friend of mine's 21st birthday. My girlfriend knows her. Her name's I don't want to give her name over this, but anyway, it was someone that she knows. First person she met at the wedding. She'll knows what I mean. And it was her 21st birthday, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pregame a little bit in the limo because she rented a limo with vanilla, Coke, and vodka. So I'm like, okay, I'll have like maybe a couple of those first, and then her brother bought everyone a shot. I was like, oh, okay, don't want to be rude, yoink. Then they bought another shot, and okay, here we go again. Well, and then this happened 3 to 4 more times, and I didn't want to be the asshole who just mooched off everybody, so I bought everyone a shot. And about 10 shots later, I was in a completely other bar, and I was told that we had 3 other bars that we went to. I was like, oh shit! I hope I didn't do anything stupid. And needless to say, I was living at home at the time because school was over, and I for my undergrad I actually lived at home. I must have saved myself 50 grand, so definitely worth it. But so I lived at home, and I ended up at home at 6 o'clock in the morning, and my mom was already up, and she knew I was drunk off my ass because I was as red as you just said. Oh my God. Well, let's just put it this way. If you ever wanted to hear someone really upset in Spanish, my mom basically did that. If she had a slipper, I would have got you to Chunkland.
Oh man, let me tell you. Screw it. I'm just gonna tell this story because
Fair
it's
enough.
my
Okay.
stream. I do what I want.
Real
but
quick before you tell the story, a little bit of the Sauron Discord server without context. Sauron, why are you wearing panties?
Huh?
Really,
That-
really, you don't understand the context of a joke in asterisks. You literally gonna ignore the oh god.
Yes,
man.
I'm purposely ignoring the context specifically because we are live.
Okay. Just so you know, the Nazgul have been dispatched.
Well, it was nice knowing you, pal.
You know what? If that's how I go out, I'm decently okay with that.
There are worse
You know,
ways
that
to
actually
die.
is a pretty cool way to go.
There
Like
are worse ways to
honestly,
die.
if that's what it takes to kill me, I will march into Valhalla happily.
It took a bunch of freaking ring wraiths to take me out.
It took what's that? 7 of them, 7 dead kings.
Oh god, no! It's
They're not kings.
Nine.
Sorry.
Yeah, nine kings. Nine kings of men. Oh,
Nine
man.
kings who
The dwarves was 7,
the
right?
Yeah, the
ring.
doors. Yeah, you got me all confused now.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm not
So
a
back
Lord
to-
of the Rings nerd
Back
like
to
you
my
and Velvet.
drunken story. So
Yeah, please.
not given the context of early life, but I do know one of the first drinks I ever had, like real drinks, was it had been a few months I was in the Navy. I was getting ready to go to my first duty station, which was in Cuba, and so group of people I was hanging out with, we're sitting out hanging outside, had a bottle of tequila, and they're making the joke. I was like, "Oh, you better drink now before you go to prison or whatever." At that point in time, I had never had like an actual drink, never, especially not like hard liquor. But because I was just joined the Navy, it's like can't look like a bitch. So I sat there and did like a what do you call it?
Not the Navy.
I did like a little chug from the bottle.
A little chug.
Absolutely terrible. It was absolutely awful. Like for someone who had never drank like tequila ever in his life, that was terrible. But I managed to pull through. Then when I get to Cuba, they got like it's a military base, so they've got people who drink there. But at the time, I wasn't drinking. Like I just wasn't. Then one day it was like Halloween time, and this one guy he has like a Halloween party. He'd been there for a couple of years, and he always has like a Halloween party. And so the thing is to go visit, hang out. I go there. I'm walking around. I don't know anybody. Like I know like maybe one person I work with who showed me around the base. I'm walking around, kind of trying my best to find a place to kind of fit in. And this one dude, I can't think of his name at the top of my head, but I'll never forget his costume. He was Batman, but he only had a mask and a cape and his boxers, right, and shoes. That was it. And I just so happened to walk past the kitchen. I can't remember where I was going, and he was like, "All right, I'm pouring shots for everybody. Who wants a shot? You want a shot? You want a shot?" He looks at me. "Hey, do you want a shot?" And I was like, "You're getting a shot." And I was like, "Okay." And then that was the beginning of the end. I think it was Jaeger and like pineapple juice,
Ooh.
and I was I took the first one, and again, I had the context of tequila the first time. But this time, it was nothing. I didn't even barely felt it. And he's like, "You want another one?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could do that again. That wasn't so bad." All I know is at some point, I won't go into the full details. All I know is I woke up laying in the grass of the yard, and then later I woke up again in a car, and then later I woke up again in my barracks room with an IV in my vein, with some blood on the floor, and one of the guys who works at the hospital looking at me, like making sure I got home safely. And I was like, "I don't remember anything." He's like, "Yeah, that tends to happen when you black out drunk."
Oh wow.
And that was like my first. I had been there for like I hadn't been there for like a month at that time, And like the next day at work, I think that was like a Friday. That next Monday, when we were back at work, all talking to each other, everybody knew my name. Everybody knew who I was. Everybody knew what had happened for the most part. And I was just like, this is one hell of a way to introduce yourself to your entire essential naval career because they all knew I was new. So luckily, it didn't stick around too much. Luckily, I was able to kind of like break free from that little stigma of like the guy who got blacked out drunk at his first party. But oh boy, it was terrible.
Mm.
It happens to the best of us, man.
And it's one of those you tell yourself, "Oh man, I'm never doing that again." And then sure enough, you do it again. And again. And again.
And again.
And again. Then you go to Japan. And then it gets even worse. Because there it's like you know, you're out in town with Japanese people, they're drinking, and so of course you're gonna drink with them. So, but back to the whole other stuff at hand. Um, oh, there we go. Yeah, 3 to the elves, 7 to the dwarves, 9 to the mortal men. Okay. Oh, God.
And
I
she
knew-
said that from memory.
I mean, she got better memory than me, and I'm the one who gave out the damn things. I don't know. Sometimes it's like I feel like sometimes when I like read so many like different stories and watch so many movies, I swear sometimes I mix up the canons of things.
Checks out.
Like I straight up will mix up like not necessarily like characters, but it's usually like smaller details like names of planets and stuff like that, names of different like places and locations. And one thing I will say, it's like I could totally see how someone could look at Dune and think, what's that planet's name? How do you say it?
Arrakis.
Arrakis. I could totally see someone say, "Oh, that's Tatooine," or vice versa.
Mhm.
Like, and I hate that little context of like, oh, you know, they copied Star Wars, copied Dune. It's like
It's a desert planet. That's
a
not
giant
something
desert
that's
planet.
copyrighted. Like, good
Yeah.
God.
and not to mention like Tatooine is not the central focus of Star Wars.
Yeah. And
Where-
Arrakis has 2 moons, whereas Tatooine has 2 suns. There's difference.
How that
And,
how
like-
that works, I have no idea. But
And Arrakis's, sand gets you high.
I was about to say like the entire planet's made of cocaine.
Well-
you know?
Well, there's a reason why the worms are important for spice.
Oh, Lord. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't.
now,
Having-
oh my
having-
God, they
having a-
shit up the spice.
now
having-
I just want to make sure I understand this. So cocaine is important for space travel.
Yeah.
The moral of the story of Dune: cocaine is the key to space travel.
Why do you think
Okay,
Elon
that's-
Musk is the first person in like the past however many years, 50 some odd years, to succeed in space travel? Because that man, there's no way that man is not high like 70% of the time.
Yo, let me find out cocaine is like the key. Like the drug cartels will become even more powerful. Like,
Cocaine is the key, Sauron.
like they literally already have so much power in the world. They would become like straight up like, you know how like in Dune there's like the noble families, the noble houses. The noble families will all have the origins as freaking cartel mafias.
If that's how it goes.
Escobar family. They're in charge.
House Escobar.
House Escobar. Oh man, that's the sci-fi story someone needs to write. There you go. Whoever wants to write that, there you go. A sci-fi future where cocaine is the key to space travel, and the cartel families are the chief engineers behind it all. So much so to the point where they basically rule the galaxy.
Okay.
You tell me you wouldn't read a story like that. Tell me you wouldn't read at least the first book, just to make sure.
So I could tell you that I wouldn't read the story like that, but I'd be lying.
I'll say I won't, but I will. That's like that book where it's like your friend says, "I'll never read that," and then one day you just so happen to see them like in a bookstore, and they got like chapters. They got books 1, 2, and 3 ready to go at the register, and you just like, I thought I thought. Ugh.
Well, if you overdose on it, you turn into a different kind of creature.
Wait a minute, you tell me if I
I'm
overdose on
sorry,
this?
the sandworms were people?
No, they're not. They're not people, but the people who are navigating the spaceships were once people.
Huh.
God,
Okay, that's ominous.
see, that's the kind of shit I like though. I like that like high sci-fi shit where it blurs the line between sci-fi and a little bit of fantasy. I love that shit. I love that. That to me, that's like insane. But you know what? I would totally be on board. It'd be dumb, but I'd totally be on board with the whole like, oh, the sandworms used to be people who just took a little too much spice.
It just got way too hot. Imagine that being the new drug PSA. It's just like you're not don't do drugs or you'll end up looking like a giant freaking
Don't do drugs, kids, or you'll turn into a giant worm.
well like
Well, one of the
face-
characters does turn into a giant worm.
Oh,
what was
Lord.
it? Hold on. Yeah, don't do drugs or you'll turn into a worm that looks like a butthole. Is what it is.
With teeth. Don't
A
forget the
butthole
teeth.
with teeth. Yeah.
Oh God, that I'm
Isn't
not
that
gonna lie.
isn't that a horror movie? Oh wait, no, it's a vagina with teeth.
I'm not gonna lie. Like that,
And it's
the
actually
worms
called
themselves look.
Yeah.
The worms themselves look very terrifying to me. Like the
Oh,
idea of
absolutely.
just you standing there and the ground opens up and it's just a mouth full of teeth just tearing you up.
So, did anybody ever play like Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy?
Back in the day, like way back.
Remember like the fourth mission where you crash landed on that planet when you're like trying to save the merchant?
Man, it's been so long I can
So-
barely remember that, but yes, sort of.
Yeah, the entire time you're basically trying to like run across the sand to pick up pieces of the merchant ship so that you can fix your ship, and you're being hunted by this sandworm.
Oh man, that
And it's significantly smaller than the one from Dune, obviously, but it's still about the size of a spaceship. So like,
I always think back to Shadow of the Colossus, where like that
Oh, that
Colossus
one.
just swims around in the goddamn sand and like.
luckily that one has the big old stupid eyes to make me less scared.
Oh, the eyes kind of freaked me out because I'll be running from it, and then I turn around and get a look at it, and I just see eyes, and I'm like, oh my God, get away! Stop looking at me like that.
I mean, to be fair, that's kind of what you have to shoot to kill it.
Yeah, but I'm saying that first initial like you don't know what to expect, kind of that shock value of like the first time.
Oh yeah, no, it's God, Shadow of Colossus is just a cool game.
Now here's the question, and this is kind of going more to the dark side of things. You think Dune is ever going to get a video game adaptation?
Honestly, I kind of hope not. Like,
Yeah.
I could see some ways that they could do it, like maybe like maybe, actually I know exactly how I would recommend they do it. Like it's a sort of maybe like they could do like a customizable protagonist, but they don't necessarily need to. At the very least, do like maybe like a male or a female protagonist, and just have you play as a Fremen, have it be a prequel,
Fair.
and you're like basically waging a guerrilla war against whatever family owned Arrakis before the Harkonnens.
There were Dune games.
Really?
Yeah, Dune. They were made by. They were released by Westwood Studios.
You know, I'm about to look up when Dune, the first game, the first Dune film came out, because I
It's the
wouldn't be
80s.
surprised is like, because Dune definitely seems like that kind of story that would be a whole, not just franchise, but like, no, franchise is the right word. You know, where it's got the movies, you got the books, you got the games, you got TV shows, you got comic books, stuff like that.
Ugh,
And I
don't
would
make it
be
a comic now, or at least don't let
They
Marvel
did.
and DC touch it. Oh,
They've actually got a comic book adaptation right now that's out.
oh, motherfuckers!
It's not that
So-
bad.
Is it good?
Oh, okay.
that's-
Not
So-
bad.
that's-
Wait, who made it?
You can't initially say motherfuckers because sometimes it might be
Let's
good.
see.
Wait, who made it?
I'm
He's-
looking it up.
So what's interesting is
Sorry.
the original Dune movie came out in '84. So you know what? I can totally see like, because Dune came out in the '60s, but that was just the book, and then the film comes out in the '80s, where like a lot of franchises were essentially being born. I wouldn't be surprised if they were kind of hoping that this would be quote unquote the next Star Wars.
Yeah.
They've actually been trying to make a good movie of it since 1970s.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that, where it's
Yeah.
like,
Jodorowsky had one that involved David Carradine, H.R. Giger.
oh,
Yeah,
oh man, imagine that
Mobius.
a Giger designed sandworm.
He was actually
Ooh,
hired to design the Harkonnens.
I mean, still like. It's funny when you see a Giger design, it's a Giger design. Like, I don't want to say like everything he makes is alien, like from the movie Alien, but you can see the hints and stuff and the slight similarities between them. Like, if you ever seen Species, that's another creature he designed. The main monster, the main alien from that, and it's like when you see the alien, like the xenomorph and her from Species side by side, it's like these are clearly different creatures, but you can see like you can tell they were designed by the same person, if you will. You can tell his art style, or at least design style, I guess you could say.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I am-
I think some of the stuff that he designed for that version of Dune is sitting in his museum right now.
I have to look some of that up one day, or probably not right now, obviously, but one day where it's like, because I love Giger designs and stuff, and it's like, I'm sure obviously Dune doesn't seem like it's that kind of like story where it would require that kind of design, but that would still be interesting to see.
Y'all remember Darkseid?
The DC villain.
Were y'all no, not Darkseid, Darkseid. It was like it was so fun fact, I actually when I was a kid, when I first read Darkseid's name, I thought it was pronounced Darkseid.
Well, yeah, because it's spelled Dark Seed.
Yeah, it's yeah. Darkseid was it was a point and click computer game that I can't remember if it was just inspired by or it was like the art was actually made by Geiger. There was a YouTube video I watched about it a long time ago about like this YouTuber that I used to really like did a review of it, and it was back when I still really liked him. So I'll find that video and just post it in the server.
Yeah, because like so the reason why I brought up like the whole Dune video game thing is not necessarily because I'm asking for one. However, I don't know, because this does seem like something they would try. This does seem like the franchise that someone would try to do that with, is in the sense of try to make it a big multimedia thing. However, at the same time, I don't think it needs that, but I could totally see that coming about with this. And I kind of have the feeling like if the '80 film had like landed the hit, it stuck the landing a lot better than it did. Because yeah, and I know it has like a kind of a cult following, but I know it wasn't like a commercial success. I could totally see like today being like Dune being like that other great sci-fi franchise. Not necessarily on the same lines of Star Wars, maybe, but probably somewhat similar. So I'm kind of interested to see like. I hope they don't, but I could totally see people trying to do that. But then again, like a lot of franchises don't really like bother with that kind of stuff anymore. At the most, you'll get like a spin-off comic. Because I know they did that with Blade Runner 2049.
Ironically, same director.
I haven't actually seen that.
I haven't either. It's like I'm not a big Blade Runner fan. I don't hate it. I'm just not.
I wasn't really
too
like
into it.
Yeah, that I was kind of the same way. Like I've watched the like original Blade Runner. I'd say probably 3 or 4 times, and each time I'm always just kind of like, eh. Like I'm literally watching it over and over, trying to get myself to love it. And like, it's a good movie. There's nothing wrong with it. It just doesn't do it for me. I have heard that 2049 is really good though.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Where it's like
So
if you
I
just
do
watch
want
it,
to
it's
watch
good.
it.
Like you watch it,
Um,
it's good.
what I'm probably gonna do is eventually I'll probably just rewatch the original and then go and watch 2049 like in the same weekend or something.
Fun
Um,
fact: Blade Runner technically takes place in the same continuity as Alien, the first one at least,
Hmm.
because both were directed by like Ridley Scott, and I think he even said so. Obviously not anymore, thanks to the other Alien films and stuff like that.
well,
But
multiple timelines is we're no stranger to that in horror based stuff. So
yeah, but I don't know. It's very interesting seeing how like franchises evolve over time. Because even Dune 2021, again, it's like an evolution of that original film. I might even go back and watch that like '84 film just to get like a context of like how different these two are. Because isn't like the '80 film like isn't it like multiple books in one?
dude, I
No,
don't.
it's just
It's been a while since I've seen it. Oh, sorry.
1984 movie is just the first novel.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
Yeah, it was. They actually had 5 hours worth of footage shot, but they cut out about 3.5 hours.
Jesus Christ! Like,
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
if you
why
want,
it didn't do so well.
uh, well,
I'm about to
if you
say
want
like
to,
that's. Go ahead.
if you want to see it, it is on HBO Max now, so that's at least a good thing.
Yeah, I might watch it just for the sake of like getting an understanding of how much it's like evolved because like that's crazy to me how like this film is not even the first book and that one was like the first novel and because I know this has been brought up before just in general. I'm not talking about like on the streams but it's like there are some books that it's like when you consider how lengthy and how much information is in that first book it becomes like I don't want to say impossible. It becomes tricky to adapt. I know one, and this I don't know. This is gonna. I don't know how anyone feels about it. I'm just gonna say it, but I know one that I used to be excited for was what's that series called? The Percy Jackson series.
Ooh,
Like when I was a kid, I
Hmm.
loved reading those books, and like I remember when they were making the first book into a movie. I straight even as a kid, I was thinking like that's not gonna work because
so
book, that first book is probably the biggest book out of all of them, and it's got the most stuff in it too.
I'd say just because of the world building. Yeah, I heard they were making the movie, and I had never read the books. But my best friend at the time was super into them, so knowing that they were making a movie, I'm like, okay, I kind of want to check those out now. So I borrowed them from him, read the entire series like twice before the first trailer for the movie came out because they announced it like 5 years before they actually released it. It was ridiculous, and me and him, we went and watched it together. We were so excited, and we left the theater cynical bastards.
Yeah, because
We were so angry.
I remember coming out of there, and I think this was like one of the first times I watched a film, and I was just absolutely disappointed. Where I was just like, I can't remember who I went to go see it with, but I'm pretty sure they read the book too, and it was like, where was this? Where was that? Where was yada yada yada? And it was like, first world problems. I'm not gonna sit here and try to like act like it was so devastating, but as a kid, it was kind of like, why? Like, why would you do this to me? Like, you got my hopes up, and and I think that was around the time where, speaking of top of Hollywood chasing trends, that was around the time where like Harry Potter was definitely at its probably at its peak, and
Mm.
everyone was trying to adapt those young
I
adult
will say
novels.
I'm pretty glad that Percy Jackson is getting another chance as a series instead of as a movie. Um, whether it's going to be good or not, we'll see. But
You,
I
you know,
don't
when
know.
it comes to those kind of books and stuff like that, they really should. Maybe this is me being a little biased because I'm an animation kind of guy, but I think it would be wiser for for studios to go with animation instead of trying to go with real life actors. I mean, it only really worked with Harry Potter because, well, it worked with Harry Potter. They
yeah,
got very lucky about that. But they
I
tried to do it with
agree
Percy
in a
Jackson, and
general sense, but
it
I feel
worked.
like Percy Jackson is one that could work in live action. They just need to do it right. They need to take their time with it. Like, don't I think it's usually, and this is just kind of my opinion as far as like books adapted into things. I don't think they should do movies. I think like as a rule, they should probably
Yeah, I
do
was gonna
like
say,
a
like, I think
show.
Percy Jackson would be a lot better as a series.
Well,
I,
that's part of
eh,
the. Oh, sorry.
Whereas with the Kane Chronicles, they're actually doing movies, and I'm a little bit like hesitant about that. I'm like, I don't think that's a good decision.
Well, because I know a lot of when it comes to novel adaptations, again, like going back to the bread and butter for me, but usually the staple mark is like Lord of the Rings. But the reason why Lord of the Rings works so well is basically like honestly, I couldn't tell you why Lord of the Rings works so well. Like maybe it's because they like Peter Jackson. I don't, honestly,
I
you
think
know
he
that's
just truly loved the source material
yeah.
and
I
just
think that
tried to
would be a
be as
good discussion
devoted.
to have one day. It's like why do some book adaptations work and others don't, and kind of like going through them because it's kind of funny when you consider that like it's been a while since I read Lord of the Rings, but I know like even the films they don't have there's stuff missing from there, and yet most people don't really complain about it. Even the theatrical cuts, not counting the extended editions, but like because the theatrical cut is probably what most people have seen when it comes to the average person, and even like Harry Potter, like there's stuff missing from there too, and yet like they don't get that same feeling of like, oh, it's cut out too much, it's missing context and things like that.
Well, I think in those cases, there's two reasons for that. One, what they cut out. While again, I read the books and I've watched the movies for Harry Potter, and as much as it would have really helped with the lore if they put those in, them losing some of those elements, like for example, the whole thing where Hermione tried to start an elf revolution to try and free house elves, but the elves, because again, it's their culture. We're like, what the fuck are you doing, lady? Like, why are you trying to free us? We don't want to be free. And Dobby felt so bad. She's like, okay, I'll take all the clothes. And that was the part you didn't see in the movies, but it was such a minor element that no one gave a shit. So I think that was one of the reasons, because again, that was an issue. Some of the stuff for the elves was an issue, and I think maybe Dobby wasn't as well received in the second movie. So when they got rid of the elf stuff, no one gave a shit. And then of course Dobby came in the second to the last film. It was like, oh my god, we love Dobby now. And it's just, but anyway, so that's the first reason, and the second reason is the ones that do the best take the biggest of risks. So, like for example, with the stuff with Lord of the Rings, they made those movies relatively at the same time. In fact, I think the boat scene in the last movie was the first scene they actually all shot that together. I think that was what Ian McKellen was saying. It's like, well, we had to shoot this scene, and I never met these people before, but I tried to give this big emotional performance. And it was just kind of funny because it's like, oh shit, yeah, he never met them, and so he's trying to do this. And by the end, it was completely different.
It's
But
just a lot about the skill of the actor able to
oh yeah,
sell something like that, like giving a rousing speech to people he literally never met before.
it's like, well, we went through years of stuff but we just met now. But anyways, the point is that movie took a huge risk, made all those movies at the same time, and it worked by some miracle. It worked, and it was one of those situations where the person knew what to do with the material, knew what he could cut out, knew what he had to leave in. And of course, one of the big things, at least for me, is that he planned this, maybe he didn't, was planning an extended edition to basically fill in those gaps or some of those gaps. And again, for me, the second movie was my favorite if it was the extended edition, because that movie I just thought was awesome.
It kind of makes me curious to see like what director's cut comes out of this new Dune, like if there would be one, which usually there is some kind of like, because even like most films have some kind of cut scenes, like that's like a guarantee for almost any film you watch. I am very curious as to see like what would those cut director's cut scenes be and things like that. What was missing? Um, because I was looking at the IMDb and they only have the part two on there. I don't know if there's gonna be a part three, which this kind of from what we've been talking about, it sounds like there would be a part three to it.
Sounds like there's going to be more than part 3.
Yeah, but a lot of movies. Well, I say that. That's right. A lot of movies prefer their trilogies, but nowadays, like
Well,
that's
the
no longer a
plan,
thing.
yeah, the plan they've got is 2 movies, and then they're going to adapt Dune Messiah as the 3rd movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did more than 3 movies, to be honest. It's
Yeah, Velvet points out a good thing. Like when it comes to Lord of the Rings, is like pretty much everyone who worked on that was like some kind of long time fan of Lord of the Rings. So like especially it helps that Lord of the Rings, even before the films, was already a very treasured story for a lot of people. So like it's kind of like what Star Wars was back in like the time of the prequel era, where it's like pretty much everyone knew what Star Wars was. And there was plenty of people who genuinely loved what it was. So I don't know about Dune per se, and I don't know if I want to give it that same like level because I don't know. I've never read the book, so I don't know for sure. But maybe you could say that same thing here, where at least when it comes to the writers and directors, like they cared about the source material, like they genuinely wanted to make a good adaptation, not just a good movie. They wanted to pay a proper homage to what they considered to be their favorite story.
plus, let's be honest, there's not going to be a bad movie that Christopher Lee's a part of.
Oh yeah, Christopher Lee reads the books once a year. Yeah, damn right. I wish I had that.
He also met
dedication.
Tolkien.
What's up?
He also met Tolkien.
Oh yeah, that's right. He actually met the man.
Mhm.
Oh man.
I think he also knelt before him.
About a no man, but this man.
Exactly.
Oh god. I'm trying to think of what other things I wanted to mention about Dune.
Well, there's sand, so
There's a lot of sand.
Anakin Skywalker's not going to be a big fan. Have you
Anakin's
seen that meme of like the Padme and Anakin in the meadow where she's like, "Hey, let's go and watch Dune." He's like, "The movie about sands," and she just kind of stares, like looking, and he just looks at her disappointed.
Oh my god! Like, God, like, oh god, that's so like. I don't want to go on the side tangent again, but like I will. Um, like I hate how like sand has just become Anakin's like thing.
Defining personality.
Yeah, like how would you describe the character of Anakin Skywalker? Well, he hates sand.
I heard somebody I can't remember who it was, but I heard somebody discussing like the fact that they were kind of overlooking a beach at that time, and that was just kind of like dialogue. It's everything in Attack of the Clones. Like most of the dialogue is written just very cringy, but at the same time, like explaining it in this way made me feel like, okay, I can kind of see what they were going for. In that, he's looking at the beach, these white sandy beaches that are just beautiful, and he's just kind of talking to her about they grew up in completely different worlds. Like to him, sand was death. To her, it was a vacation. And it was just like I don't know. It was an interesting point to make. I'm not saying the dialogue was good; it wasn't, but it. I still legitimately love those movies, and every time I learn more about stuff like that, I truly, I just love them even more.
It's one of those, go back to Dune in just a second, but like when it comes to like Star Wars and the prequels, it's like on paper the stories of the prequels are fantastic. Like on paper, on the surface level alone, like this idea of Anakin being the chosen one of the Jedi, destined to save them, only to be corrupted by the very darkness he was meant to destroy, and then subsequently destroying the Jedi. Palpatine, um, pulling the strings in the background, like that kind of stuff on paper is fantastic. Execution wise, not so great. But with Dune, it's like again, I don't have the same context of like the original source, but it feels like the execution here was done very well.
Yeah, it definitely I don't know, like Dune to me it felt fresh because in this entire the past several years we've gotten a lot of cookie cutter sort of quippy explody Marvel type movies, and if it wasn't that, it was something that didn't really like whatever we got was just something that didn't really know what it wanted to be.
Yeah, trying to
Dune,
emulate something else.
it was it was clean, it was focused, it knew exactly what it wanted to be, and it did not hide from that. It did not make compromises. It was simply what it was with no apology for it. And I think that's fantastic, especially in this time that we're in.
I will say that because I even mentioned earlier on like watching this film, it was very like refreshing in a way because surface level, and especially considering how many years have been since the '60s, it's like the story of Dune, especially considering how much stuff has come out since then. It's like it's not exactly that original anymore in the sense that like other stories have kind of taken that similar formula, taken inspiration from Dune itself. But I don't know. It was refreshing to see a movie that was like this. Just like it wasn't it. I don't want to say it was like smart, so I don't want to sound like so artsy and all that crap. But it felt like it was it felt like it was trying. It wasn't like, oh, you know what this is, so you're gonna watch it regardless. No, it was like, all right, whoever people are watching this probably don't know exactly what this is, so let's get them into this universe. Let's get them excited to see what happens next. Let them become a part of this universe instead of just assuming that they're gonna watch this no matter what.
Looking at you, Star Wars.
Looking at a lot of franchises, really, when you really think about it, where it's like they ride on that nostalgia, which I guess you could also say this movie does too, to a degree, because again, Dune, it's not like Dune is a brand new thing. It's not Dune. The Dune is a brand new concept, but it's sure as shit is not a mainstream thing. Dune is not a mainstream property that just every single person knows about off the top of their head. Like hell, Gumby even admitted like he never even heard of Dune until this movie was announced.
Well, I definitely hope that it does get a sequel. I mean, it's been doing pretty well in the theaters, surprisingly, especially because of the considering what's going on with COVID. It's doing pretty respectably.
Oh yeah, like I remember talking. I think it was. I don't know who I was talking to, but like saying how like when it comes to like movies failing due to COVID, it's like no, because like this may sound crazy, but like even the most hardcore person who's like dead set on COVID, if there was a movie they really wanted to see, they're gonna go see it.
Mhm.
COVID be damned, because that's how people are. It's like, you know what? I, I'm taking my vitamins. I'm wearing my mask. I'm gonna make sure like the theater is. I'm gonna pick a time where there's not a lot of people in there. I'm seeing this movie. Like people will find to to quote Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park. Life finds a way. People will find a way to watch a movie if they really want to see it.
If you want to see a good example of that, look at Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey versus what was called Demon Slayer, the
Oh, look at
old comic book movie that did the best of 2000. So yeah, and a lot of people were saying, well, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey didn't fail because it was a bad movie. No, it failed because of COVID, and it's just like people. It came out before COVID was a problem, and then you have
Also, the
Demon
Demon Slayer
Slayer.
movie in the middle of COVID.
yeah, but I say Demon Slayer
Demon
came out in the
Slayer,
middle of it.
yeah, yeah, Demon Slayer was in the middle of COVID, and it wasn't even like now COVID. It was in the middle of people are still in lockdown COVID, and it still made over $250 million.
I like the idea of someone sneaking out of lockdown in like some kind of like in the middle of the night wearing like some all black robe, running to the theater, and then like buying the ticket. And it's like you don't have to hide yourself. Like we're open for a reason here.
But still, it was actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah, it
I
reminds me of
haven't
like
watched it.
it reminds me of Godzilla versus Kong, where it's like because I know that was like the first movie that kind of like gave studios and Hollywood confidence that movies can still be successful despite everything that was going on. Like,
Plus, being on a streaming service.
yeah. Plus, being on the streaming service, that was another thing too. And I think I even like, what's his name? It's like he's an artist who does a lot of Godzilla artwork and kaiju artwork and stuff. Where like pointing out how like a lot of people were praising like I can't think of what movie they were praising, but talk about how like like these movies basically saved cinema. It's like y'all ignoring Godzilla versus Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were like lining up to see that movie, and it was basically the
God,
reason why a lot of
I loved it.
I fucking oh god, we already had that stream about that, but God, I fucking love that movie. But
It was, especially like just the end where they just kind of look at each other and you just like you could just feel the respect there.
it's like all right, like, let's call it a draw.
Like they might as well have just like fist on chest.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny? This Godzilla vs Kong and Dune 2021 are probably like the two movies. Like they're on like the spectrum of like Godzilla vs Kong. Like I love it, but it is a dumb movie, but I love it. Dune, on the other hand, again. I'm not trying to be like all high in my. I'm not trying to be all like what's the word pretentious, but it's a smart movie and it's good. You know what I mean? Like Godzilla vs Kong, I'll be like that's more or less an acquired taste. I'm not gonna sit here and say go watch it, you'll love it immediately. But Dune, I'll say like I guess you could say the same thing about Dune, but I'll say like Dune, it's on paper the good movie. It's what you kind of look for in a movie that's like good and still entertaining. Oh man, but I'm trying to make sure there was nothing else I wanted to bring up about Dune. He talked about the music, talked about like I will say this, and this is one thing that always kind of gets me about some stories when the main character is kind of annoying. Like I'll say like Paul, he was not that. Like I wasn't annoyed by him at all.
Definitely respect.
I actually
He
enjoyed
felt
him.
almost like a character that I almost should have been annoyed by, but like I don't know. Somehow he just felt like he felt like he fit.
Yeah, like it's a combination of an everyman but not whiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like like his interactions with Duncan. Like I think it was good that was like one of the first interactions we had with him. I know it wasn't the first, but I'm glad it was one of the first because it already set up like he's a normal guy. Like this is his friend. He's like talking to him, chatting with him, being human with him. So now we have a get go of him like
you can tell he loves
person.
the people he let that like serve him. He's a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that will change.
Even his father, like, well,
no, he was cool.
Yeah, like like
Leto is still my favorite character.
Like the and this might seem kind of like because now that I think about it, it does seem a little like fantasy that like the good guys are the good guys. There's no like gray area to them, which in a lot of today storytelling you don't really see that a lot of. There's usually some kind of gray area to them to some degree.
Mhm.
But this movie, it felt like no, the good guys are the good guys and the bad guys are the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can tell by my whole shtick, I love that. I love it when the bad guys are just unapologetically evil. I love that shit.
That was pretty awesome. I mean, again, it was like when we got that what do you call it? That introduction at the beginning of the movie, and you see them being total dicks, and they never let up. There's no, well, I did this because my parents were killed by this clan, or this was done because because of the harshness of my upbringing. Nope, none of that shit. We're just dicks because we're dicks.
And you know what's even funny? There is
That's
some
something
nuance
that.
to it.
Go ahead, sorry.
In the sense that, like, he's the leader of their people. Of course, he's going to do right by his people over everyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But he's also a dick.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's still a dick, but at least, like, if you were looking for something to relate to, there you go. Like, he's the leader of his own people. Why would he not do what's best for his people over someone else's?
Yeah, and at least he was upfront with them too, so that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, like, God damn it, spoiler, but like. No, I won't say it, but yeah, you're right. You're right. There was like moments, and I love that villains and when they like honest, quote unquote.
That's something that I kind of want to do with, like, not all, but some of my own villains, that they're legitimately just evil. One of my villains, which is. So I actually have a couple characters in one of my stories that I've based sort of loosely on some of my Twitter mutuals, like less on them as people, but more on like the personas that they have. And my character, based off of our gracious and lovely host here, is just a fucking nightmare. Like, I want this man to, like, when he first shows up, just straight up butchers half my main cast.
Yeah.
All right, say less. Where are they?
In my head as of now, so don't. I still need this thing.
No,
that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, like it. I do actually need to talk to you about this a little bit, Sauron, because the way they beat him is a little bit non-traditional, and I want to know if I need your permission for something. I'm not going to talk about it on stream because of spoilers, just in case. However,
they get in a circle and beat your ass like a like a gang violence, some shit.
Fun fact, actually, what I'm going to talk to you about, I already have. I don't know if she's still watching, but Emily is aware of this little plot thing, and so I have her on board already. So it's something a little bit ambitious, but I want to get a lot of my friends in on it. So we'll see.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna have to call it because my dog is staring at me, and I'm pretty sure.
Been there.
She wants to. I don't want to say the words, but I think she wants to go OUTSIDE.
Yeah.
Oh.
She wants to take a poop.
All right, I'm thinking. Yeah, because she at me, and she looks at me like that when she's hungry, or when it's the other thing. So we'll find out. So I'm gonna go ahead. Well, I'm trying to make sure. You got to be careful because if she hears certain words, she's gonna go into a frenzy, which is why I spelled out.
I am so sorry.
No, you're good. All right, so I'm gonna call it here. I don't know if any of you guys have any last minute things you want to add on before we close out here.
I don't think I have anything other than don't. So everybody, don't pirate Dune. Pay them money, but do pirate like everything else.
Unless you like, this is one thing I'll say about piracy because I lived in situations where it's like it's impossible to get a movie on the regular routes. Like like sometimes it's just not available in some countries, and that sucks. And I really think a lot of studios and like filmmakers need to kind of stop that shit, especially if they're gonna sit here and complain about piracy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because there are people in the world where that's literally the only way they can watch a movie. However, I will say if you're gonna have to do that, at the very least, try your best to like buy. Well, no, I don't want to say that. Like, if you like it, buy it. Like, if you do that to watch the film and you end up liking it, try your best to try to buy it. Because like, as much as we like to complain about like today's media being sometimes like lazy and stuff like that, like try your best to support the stuff that is good. Like even if you
And
don't
even
think
if
it's
it's
gonna
not
be too
good,
much.
if it's not bad either, and if you like it, then you gotta support the stuff that you enjoy.
Yeah, try to support the stuff that you enjoy. That way, like at the very, because studios they care about one thing and one thing
Mhm.
only. That's money. You
And
support the stuff you like. That's gonna speak of more volumes than you complaining about the stuff that you don't like.
yeah, and if you can't do if you can't see the movie or if you can't buy the movie, there's merch that can be bought as well, and you could decorate your house with that stuff. You could get some figures. You could do some other stuff. It at least tells them that hey, there's interest. Like how the Eternals basically their figures kind of just went bye bye, in the sense that no one's buying them. Although apparently the movie's not doing that bad, but no one's buying the figures, so that basically says something right there. But also something to consider when it comes to the He-Man show, people were buying the figures, but not too many people were watching the show itself. So, and now heaven only knows what's going to happen with the second season. But with what happened with the first one, it might affect the toy sales. So, but again, the point is one of the ways that a lot of anime basically gets popular is not through the anime itself, but it's the merch.
Yeah, I would say at the very least, like if you're gonna watch something and you're gonna have to pirate it because there's no other way, at least be vocal about like saying, "Hey, I love this. Release it here." Like stop being stingy. You're neglecting an entire market. You want to make money? Here's your money right here. Release it over here. Like you don't even have they don't even have to subtitles go a long way. Like as much as like people like to complain, like subtitles are not that hard to read. People like just read them. Just read them. But yeah, this movie is definitely. I don't know how. I don't know if anyone values my opinion on a film, but this film is definitely worth the watch. I'll say that. Um, and I legitimately cannot wait to see Dune Part 2, whatever that subtitle is going to be.
Honestly, I think it's just going to be part 2.
I wouldn't be surprised. That would be like the safe bet. Just keep it Dune Part 2, and then
Keep
Dune
it simple.
Part 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe like once they start reaching like adapting the other books, maybe like Dune Messiah is the next one, right?
Dune Messiah, then Children of Dune.
They're probably just going to use those names like Dune Messiah Part 1
And then
Dune
Paul
Messiah
of Dune.
Paul, they're not going to.
I'm sorry. That's such a.
All of Dune.
I'm sorry.
I mean, let's be honest.
Paul of
We'll
Dune.
We'll get God Emperor of Dune before Paul of Dune.
God Emperor of Dune sounds badass. I'll say that. God Emperor of Doom. That's a badass title. Paul of Dune. I think he could do better.
Well, it was done by lesser writers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and end it here.
All right, thanks for the chat, y'all.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
glad
everybody
we do this.
who
Thanks,
came
Jack, for
on.
coming out.
Thank everybody who watched, is watching, will watch, and hope you guys have a wonderful night.
And give some prayers for Slim. By the way,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
send my
since
boy
he
Slim
was
some
originally
love.
supposed to host this, and yeah, he's going through a tough time right now. Let's just let's keep him
Yeah,
in
I
our
can't
thoughts.
blame him.
If you believe in prayers, send some his way.
Slim, if you're listening to this, we think you're awesome, and we'll hope that next time that you can, host this. And if you can't, that's cool too. Take your time, man. We're here for you, man.
Love
Yeah,
you,
man.
brother.
All right, you guys have a wonderful night.
You
All
too.
right, talk to you all.